There we go.
Man, another franchise completed.
Yeah, it's number 2. Number 2.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, there's really nothing to read for this one, right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
We just have our standard exit
yeah,
script.
Sure.
Let me pull that up
Just
here.
look at that.
Well, you look at this.
This has got to be the most boring intro we've done.
Oh, so it's really funny. So the DJ at the wedding I was at yesterday, like, I really like. Have you seen that YouTube where it's like, well, would you look at that? Like, just look at that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Would you just look at it? Yeah. I've seen
the
that.
guy. The DJ sounded like his voice sounded exactly like that, and I so badly wanted him to go, well, would you look at this? And I was tempted to go and ask him to say that just to see how close it would sound. But I swear it would have been spot on.
Yeah.
That would have been so funny.
Would you just look at it?
Let's just look at it.
Oh, another franchise done.
Look at
this. Would you look at that?
Look at this.
Would you look at that? Would you just
John Andre, that was for you.
Would you just look at it?
Would you look at this? Well, good morning, afternoon, and or evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning back in and hanging out with us. As always, we are the Genesius guys. I'm Nick.
Would you look at that? I'm filling in for Kyle. I'm Seth.
Would you look at that?
And
I'm John.
and would you look at this? We are 3 Catholic dudes who love to talk about movies. Look, this is the Genesius podcast. Would you look at this?
They're just like, I'm turning this off right now.
No. John Andre is still listening because this is his favorite YouTube video ever.
I'm sure Rochelle just is going to have the most puzzled look on her face right now. Love you.
So how does it feel, Seth? How does it feel to be engaged?
It feels good.
Yeah.
Feels great. You?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's kind of weird. Like I would say like being engaged, like the actual proposal is kind of weird. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, like you don't feel engaged right away until you like start sharing it with everybody and you're like, man, this really happened.
I heard that.
Like,
Is it weird to call your women your fiance?
Well, they're not our women, but yes.
That's true.
You get what I mean.
Yeah.
That did that first time. Like I still autocomplete phrases in my head with girlfriend and not fiance.
well, the thing that like, so for instance, me and Katie will send a message like every morning and night, just like good morning and like good night. And like it auto fills to like girlfriend, and then I have to like erase it to put fiance.
It will learn one day. It will learn.
So it was really, I can't remember who I was talking to one day, but somebody said it would be really funny if like, and this is like I'm not endorsing this in any way, but like it'd be super funny if we had someone write in being like, hey, I'm sad that John and Seth aren't engaged, but is Nick still available? And it turns out to be my future spouse.
So any of those looking to, ask Nick on a date.
Genesius podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah.
This took a really weird turn.
This did. Let's actually talk about the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, so
That's what we're supposed to be.
So we have
Who's a little bit more smoother than we are. I guess he's not quite like a huge ladies man, but he's a ladies man enough.
Yeah, and as you can see, we have Indy joining us once again for the show. We have this is our second franchise that we have finished on the show. I kind of want to say right out of the gate, I had a lot of fun watching these movies again.
I would say
this was such a fun series to revisit, and it's like I just want to watch these movies again.
Yeah. I don't think I was able to rewatch Raiders specifically for its episode, but these movies are always fun to revisit. Temple of Doom was the first time I'd seen that one, and you all know how my thoughts were about that.
I'm really surprised that you had not seen the original 3 yet. Before.
I'd seen Raiders and Last Crusade, just not Temple of Doom.
Yeah, but I mean like
she meant all the way through
as like a whole.
Yeah.
As a singular unit.
Mm-hmm.
But I completely understand why you did not see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull before.
I think it's just, to me at least, I saw the ones that I think were most important to me. And in terms of like growing up, just like The Last Crusade is just the best out of all of them.
It's a masterpiece,
I think it's unanimous among our rankings, actually, that I'm looking at right now.
which we will go into a little bit more toward the end.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very clear.
This is an iconic franchise. It has legendary status in pop culture. It is widely considered, the original 3 at least are widely considered to be classics.
They are, and those 3 movies have aged spectacularely well.
Yeah.
Like compared to most movies made in like the 70s and 80s and 90s, like these movies have just and I think I do think part of it has to do with the fact that there was there was barely any like digital effects involved. Like one thing, like the Ark scene where they open the Ark of the Covenant and Raiders and the faces are melting and exploding. Like, so what they did was because the last time
it was layers of wax, right?
Yeah. The last time you actually see those actors is when they're making their scared faces and when they're melting, like they'd built like basically scale wax models of them. With that one guy, they just layered like white and red and flesh on top of it. So it's like the 2 guys' faces, like they're wax figures actually melting. And if you pause at the right spot, you can tell that they're not the actual people.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays Belloc, like they just planted a little explosive in his head and they just blew it up.
It kind of reminds me, there's an episode of Star Trek Next Generation called Conspiracy. And they use kind of a similar thing there where it's the actor, but then they basically, Picard and Riker, Patrick Stewart and Jonathan Frakes shoot this guy with a phaser in the head, and they comp out the parts of his face, and apparently they just basically like took ground meat and just like shaped it into a head.
Oh my gosh.
And then they just blew it up. And it's not actually particularly graphic by like today's standards, but in the same vein, it was like supposedly it didn't get a content warning because one of the guy's kids thought it was like a little boy thought it was fine, which I mean, it's a little boy. He's going to think blowing something up is cool. Especially if he knows what it is. But it scared the crap out of like, 12 or 13-year-old me. But yeah, it's a similar effect.
I mean, Temple of Doom was really freaky as a kid, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just as far as special effects go, I think, and this and the original Star Wars trilogy, I think, or just like peaked in examples of just how much better a film looks when you like actually build real sets and use real props instead of just CGing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to disagree with that because the best CG is the stuff that's invisible. And I think we only notice the bad stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
there's a point to where a lot of times,
elaborate.
Let's talk about.
I don't totally get what you're saying.
If you ever see a shot of like a helicopter in the air and it's being followed, like the shot looks like it's being from another aircraft. In most cases, that's a CG helicopter.
Okay, yeah,
but
I can actually agree with
like
that.
Subtle things
I see
like
what you're saying. Yeah,
if they go through like a city, like cleaning it up and like, or like just like cleaning up actors in general,
cleaning
like,
up actors. If there's a street that they're filming on that's too short, they'll digitally extend it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of like set extension CG work that's done that is really, really fantastic.
Okay, I can concede to that for sure.
Because there could be bad practicals too.
Well,
mm-hmm.
Right.
The main point is
Star Trek, the original series.
I do think though that like maybe perhaps a more accurate or perhaps I guess thoughtful statement of your point that I would agree with is that practical effects that are done with a real sense of craftsmanship as to how do we convey what's happening on the screen. And those hold up much better over time. And I feel like they age better because they are clearly of the time that they are in, but they still look good for that time.
And that's why I think the Star Wars and the original Star Wars and the indie movies hold up so well today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
Lucasfilm knew what they were doing back then.
So
Nowadays, that's questionable.
Maybe this is a good point to bring it up just because you like kind of see the comparison between Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
They're cousin franchises.
What about the characters of Indiana Jones and Han Solo? Like kind of the comparison between them.
Yeah, they're both really rough around the edges.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think those are the two. I think those are two movie characters you could probably compare the best because they are in a lot of ways the same person.
It's basically just like if Indiana Jones was in space, he would be Han Solo.
Down to the blaster, right? Like the blaster is his whip.
Well, and also like, I mean, I know a lot of people said like, oh, like Chris Pratt could be the next Indiana Jones. And while I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, I can kind of see why, because like, you know, I think Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's basically like, I think of Star-Lord as, and this is probably why he's one of my favorite Marvel characters, is because he is the right blend of Indiana Jones and Han Solo that's not Harrison Ford. Because he's like that, because like in the sense of Han Solo, for both, he's a scoundrel. Comparing to Han Solo, he's got cool ships. He's got really cool gadgets and stuff.
He's an outlaw.
Yeah, he's an outlaw. And with Indiana Jones, like, I mean, you could also like his blasters you could compare like with his whip. And like he always like in the first Guardians movie, really the intro to that movie, and we can obviously get more into that when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just like the beginning of Raiders. In a lot of ways.
True.
I think, I don't think that was an accident because he lands his ship outside of this temple on Morag. He goes into the temple to retrieve an orb. And as soon as he gets the orb, everything just falls apart.
There's a key difference here you're forgetting, and that is that Guardians of the Galaxy had a sick, dope, just a sick dance sequence.
There also wasn't really that many traps that he had to work through, but
just to like get the orb, that was the only trap he really had. But as soon as he got it, what happened? The Kree showed up.
Yeah.
And he had to basically Indiana Jones his way out of that situation. And even that goes wrong when he's flying his ship away and just gets blasted by the geyser.
Well, one thing I find interesting. Okay, so like Han Solo also has like a lot of friends that I think is similar, like to Indiana Jones has a lot of like.
There's a lot of friends that betray him.
Yeah. But I think the thing that like really distinguished the difference is Indiana Jones has an almost like alter ego of him being the professor that I don't really think Han Solo does.
Han Solo definitely does not have that. I agree with this.
But I think one of the things that like I just found kind of strange when watching the newest movie was it was just like I felt like they took like Han Solo where he like marries Princess Leia and then has a kid and then gets divorced and then his kid like
dies.
But it's very similar to their arc that they did with Dial of Destiny.
Yeah,
and I'm just
I've heard that comparison a lot in the past couple of weeks.
Like, is Harrison Ford just like the like divorced guy now or something? Like
he plays the divorced dude really well.
Oh,
I mean, granted, Miriam and him didn't actually.
Harrison Ford's going to come to the MCU, and Thunderbolt Ross is going to be. Somehow they're going to work a divorce subplot into it that is just a buildup for him turning into Red Hulk.
Gosh, I
would not be shocked if that happened.
I can't imagine Harrison Ford's CG Red Hulk face. I don't want to imagine it.
I kind of can, and it's
not.
I don't think it's the most disturbing idea.
No, I don't like that. I don't like it at all. It should not be a thing. I hope it doesn't become a thing, but
you're not going to watch the movie anyway, Seth.
That's
so
true.
It's okay.
I guess I don't care.
But I thought that was like a little odd of just like their writing choice. I'm like, okay, they're making him even more similar to Han Solo now. Okay, but
as if it wasn't obvious enough that he was basically. Well, you should probably more say that Indiana Jones is Han Solo in the 1930s because technically Han Solo came first.
Now, I
true.
do have a question for you guys. It's a discussion topic. Best and worst side characters.
Oh,
These can be villains. These can be sidekicks. These can be
Interesting.
can
love
we
interests.
actually distinguish side characters from villains?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do a
I
separate
think
one
that's-
for side characters and let's do
I think
villains.
because I think that'll just be a lot easier.
Yeah. So
I'll go first.
Go for it.
I think it's hard to me, it's very close with like Short Round and Saul though. Because like Saul's in so many. But like Short Round is so much more like fun.
Oh,
you're forgetting someone.
So I would put
yeah, Willie Scott.
No.
what?
You're forgetting. That's blasphemy. His dad.
Oh my gosh.
How?
Wow.
How could you-
okay.
Well,
So
because-
I just basically
because
see him
it's-
as the main character.
Yeah, I was
didn't
gonna
see him
say
as a
his
side
dad.
character.
His dad might as well be a main character in Last
Okay,
Crusade.
okay. You're right. You're right. His dad, Short Round Saul. That would be and the new Shaw
I mean, I
is
really
my least favorite.
put Short Round and Indy's dad really like on the same level. They're
But
so
granted, the woman from Temple of Doom. What's her?
good. Oh yeah, Willie Scott.
Willie Scott.
Willie's. Oh, I don't know. Between Shaw and her, for the worst, I think.
I'll take Shaw.
You'll take Shaw.
I will take Shaw. I don't care.
She
Willie
just-
Scott
the
was
only-
the worst.
Willie Scott just screams constantly in that movie.
And actually, the funny thing was there was a point in Dial of Destiny where Shaw screams and it sounds so much more authentic and so much more real.
You
and
mean
I'm
like the
yeah, like it was like actually like a proper scream. And I'm
Yeah.
like, finally, thank you. You didn't have to teach her how to scream in the way that you wanted to, like Sam Raimi style, you know? Like I felt better about that. That's maybe one redeeming quality about Helena Shaw's character.
That's saying a lot.
That is
There
saying
isn't
a lot.
many. I mean, I think as far as worst side character, I don't think it's for me, I don't think it's a contest that Helena Shaw is
No,
the worst.
I have a worst. I have a worst character. I think that beats Shaw.
Ooh.
Mac.
Oh, that's a good point.
You remember Mac?
I still would
exactly. You
I
don't.
still
you
would.
don't.
No, he's from Crusade. He's
He's from Crystal
Nope.
Skull.
Crystal Skull.
Oh shoot.
Mac.
Oh my gosh.
See, that's what makes him the
Okay.
worst. You don't remember him.
Who's his like the other archaeologist with him in Last Crusade that you really didn't like?
Marcus Brody.
Brody. That's what. Yeah.
Well,
Yep,
it's
yep.
not that I think
I
they
liked him better,
overused.
yeah,
I think they
but-
overused the comedy, but they
But
still
Mac
have
is
the
really
single,
bad because he's like triple agent or
No, Mac. The issue with Mac is he has literally no purpose in the story.
Yes, I want to me, the main difference is really best summed up by the fact that in Last Crusade, they have a brilliant cut to Brody where Indy is just like, he is incredibly knowledgeable.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
speaks
yeah.
13
So
different
much.
langues. He has friends in every country.
And he
knows the
blend
culture.
right in.
He'll
He's
blend
basically
in. You'll never
describing
see him again.
himself.
Yes,
right?
he's literally just describing kind of himself, but also like Brody. And then
And
it
then it
cuts
just
to
cuts to him being like, "Hello, does anyone speak English?"
yeah, this bumbling fool. And now, granted, they kind of overplay it for the rest of the movie, but that alone is just like so worth it. And Mac is best summed up by Indy's line, "Really, Mac? All those years spying on the Reds?" That's it. Like literally, he should have just died after that, and it would have been fine. Especially if they had like redeemed his character like a little bit in his final moments to where Indy actually felt something about this guy. But the
But he
rest of the
betrayed him
movie,
so many times. Like, how could he care
the rest of the
anymore?
movie, he just shows up to be like, "Indy, it's me," and he gets punched. And it's like, we don't care about you, Mac. And then he finally, at the very end of it, he just inexplicably decides to just die.
Oh.
I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So yeah, that's one of the. Mac, I think, takes the cake for me. I think he's not quite Willie Scott bad, but he is like 1/4 step, nay, an 1/8 step above. In that he's not just purely annoying like Willie Scott was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel about that. To me, best side character, Indy's dad, hands down. Short Round is a close second, but Indy's dad. They do so much with him in that movie.
He's the best developed side character.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
It's not just a good side character too. Like Last Crusade does, in my opinion, what Raiders of the Lost Ark didn't really do, and Raiders had, but it kind of encased it in this really dark and unnecessarily weird storyline, and that is that Last Crusade is a character piece about Indiana Jones and his dad and their relationship.
Yeah.
It's a well-developed character piece, and so it comes the emotion of that comes across super well, and it's why when you see his photo in Crystal Skull, I actually still feel something about. I feel a certain way about that because it's a really
Even in Dial of Destiny, they show his photo very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, that role is just so good. And the way they did it in Last Crusade. I mean, Last Crusade is just the best. It's a perfect movie.
The only thing
I would say perfect movie.
Near perfect.
I would say there is a plus of I think Miriam is like the best female side
Yes.
character.
Hands down.
Because she doesn't like it. I mean, there is points in which she is kind of like a damsel, but like I think she has a lot more agency than
I
a lot of
think
other damsels
Marion,
do.
like in similar vein that Indiana Jones could be compared to Han Solo, Marion could be easily compared to Princess Leia.
Yeah.
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 Wait, you didn't like Elsa?
No.
She talks in her sleep.
I mean, but she was clearly a bad person. Like from the get, you just knew because like you're literally going against Nazis and she has a very thick German accent. Like, come on.
How in the world did Indy not pick that out?
Because Indy,
Because she's pretty. I don't know.
because
Like,
Indy
Sure.
is fallible to beautiful blonde German women, where her allegiance ultimately doesn't matter.
which is apparently genetic. So
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently. No, I think Marion is easily
The best female side character.
best wife.
Well, she's the only wife.
But definitely best woman in the series in terms of going toe to toe for Indy, just like the sass and the way that like she is able to stand up to his character in terms of like his brashness, and her stubbornness works out really well chemistry-wise.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's really fantastic. I do find it interesting that they really hint at a somewhat inappropriate relationship that they have at the start of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that is just like never mentioned again. So there's a very strange part of their relationship, and the fact that it carries through the whole thing.
Maybe that'll
But-
come up in the Young Indiana Jones series, which I'm still not that far into.
Oh yeah, it hasn't yet.
No, and I haven't
Fair
got if that's even in there, I haven't gotten to it.
I would be impressed if they get that far into it.
Mm.
Because it's only 2 seasons, right?
There's only one on Disney Plus from what I saw.
Oh.
Now let's talk villains. Best villain?
Oh, that's tough actually.
I actually think the guy from
Hang on a second though. I didn't give my
Oh, go
answers
for
to
it.
the last
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
What do you think?
Thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Well, because we basically know the answer.
Well, I think if we're talking best side character, I honestly I'd probably put Henry Jones Sr. on top, and Short Round is like a nano step below him.
I agree.
Like they're both just too good of side characters to not be. And Sala also up there, probably a little bit below those two, because like he just like we said this in a
He doesn't get the screen time.
Short Round is the GOAT.
Yeah, Short Round is
Short Round is the GOAT. And for worst side character, like that's tricky for me. Because I agree that Mac was pointless ultimately, but I found, and I agree that like Willie Scott is like, I see your points about Willie Scott, but I actually did enjoy her as a side character just because she played the damsel in distress. That was like the fish out of water stuff. I think she played that so well.
She has moments. I think
It
Right,
definitely makes
and you
like
know
a
who
contrast for
Yeah, and you
Miriam,
know who I
right?
can't say that about? Helena Shaw.
no.
So for me, it's no competition that Helena Shaw, I think, is the worst side character in the indie franchise.
We'll agree to disagree.
She's just like
I-
there was no reason to root for her at all.
The point I would say for Nyx is that like Mac doesn't really affect the story that much, where Shaw does.
Exact. Shaw like actually is a significant part of the story, but she's an insufferable character. Like Mac's not even insufferable of a character because
He's on there so little
because
you
he's
can
so
barely-
useless to the story.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Shaw is the worst character because like if she were as useless as Mac, I'd have a different opinion. But because she's such a central part of the story, I don't think it's competition.
I will just point out, nobody said Mud. So
That's
Mutt sits like firmly in the middle.
yeah.
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 Like Mutt's not a bad character.
It's just not like
Yeah, he's just
remarkable.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's
Dial of Destiny. He's just
he
okay.
also Mutt also has his
fine.
Mutt also though has his moments like when he
Yes.
was getting whacked in the crotch by those plants while straddling between the two duck boats.
That was-
But
that was
okay,
really
okay.
fun.
Him being Tarzan was just ridiculous.
I still think the most ridiculous moment in the movie in Crystal Skull is when the duck boat gets on a tree and it gets gently lowered in, and then it turns into a Looney Tunes cartoon for like 3 seconds.
well, did you? What about the part where it's like
Why
basically?
wasn't Bugs Bunny in that movie? Come on.
But in that movie where it breaks into basically West Side Story, right? With like, well, the greasers and the jocks, right? Where they're just like,
Oh,
they're like
yeah,
in the bar
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
just like,
Okay.
greaser, get him.
Okay, but John, even that was more believable than that tree bit off the
Yes.
cliff.
What was
Yes.
the other
Like,
side of
give
that?
me a break.
The greasers and I'm trying to remember what the other side.
Is it like Soka's? Or, I don't
No.
know. What is that even? Is it
The
Grease
Outsiders.
Lightning? Oh, the outside.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
The book, The Outsiders.
Yeah. For some reason, I think Soka's, but
Oh, that's so weird. I can't
but it's basically jocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as side characters go, that's my take.
Very good.
Helena Shaw is, and it's even in my notes here, Helena is the worst.
I think she's a great villain.
Speaking of villains,
Yes.
Yeah. We can go to the villains next.
Actually,
that was a pretty smooth transition.
that was a pretty
actually.
smooth villain transition. Let's see. I would say so to recap, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark, you've got Belloc.
Belloc, yeah.
Along with there's like that thin rimmed spectacled Nazi dude.
Yeah.
Who took out something and it turned out to be a hanger when you
That
thought it was
was
a weapon.
hilarious.
It's such a good
That
bit.
was such a good
It's such
bit.
a good bit.
So yeah, that we got that duo. The second movie we've got the
we have
priest guy,
Lao She for like the first few minutes, and then we have Mola Ram
Molaram, yeah.
for basically the rest of the movie.
Third Last Crusade is what's the dude's name?
Julian Glover's character, General Veers in Indiana Jones.
I know, yeah.
Walter Donovan.
Donovan, yes. And then Crystal Skull, we got Spalco, and then the fifth one here we've got Jürgen Voller. I would say
As a whole, actually a really solid villain.
yeah, not
actually.
a bad
There's
cast.
not a single bad villain in this franchise.
I mean, they're the little like. I think the one from Raiders is a bit stereotypical.
yeah.
but I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is a stereotype in of itself.
Yeah.
So because the movie is a stereotype, it can get away with a lot of stereotypical things because this basically set that genre.
Yeah.
Like it's a tip. Like it is a very much it's like a Western made in the 80s that takes place during the Great Depression. And it's about a cowboy like archaeologist.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think Belloc is the best villain in the franchise, but he's a good villain for what he's put in. So I think having him be
similar to like Iron Man, you could say like Ironmonger isn't like this like huge standout
Ironmonger should have been in more movies.
But I think it worked to start off the franchise.
Absolutely.
But I think if I would say best villain,
Mola Ram is terrifying.
But
yes.
what okay. Maybe it's just what was his goal in terms of Doom?
His goal was no, like actually they did make that clear. They have and this is what I caught this when I was watching this for our Temple of Doom episode. He does lay out his grand villainous plan to Indy when he captures him. Because there's 5 Sankara stones.
Yeah.
They have 3. The reason because I mean the whole tearing out hearts and firing them to what is basically hell is that's their cult.
Yeah.
It's part of their cult. And the children that are slaving away in the mines are looking for the stones. Like ultimately,
but what happens when they get all 5 together?
I feel like they explained that. I just don't remember.
So the idea is just that they become powerful enough that
to take over the world.
That they're basically able to enslave the minds of other people, like wantonly. And so he literally lays out he basically name drops all of the other major religions in the world and says the Hebrew God will fall and et cetera, et cetera. And so he goes through and is basically
he's looking at world domination more or less.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I don't know if there's really one that I mean that one's definitely the most terrifying.
Yeah.
But they kind of feel like James Bond villains. I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just okay.
I kind of Donovan is really interesting to me because unlike Belloc, Donovan's not even really doing the hard work. Belloc would at least, Belloc didn't do much of the hard work either, but Belloc got out.
Well, and I think Donovan also, by not doing the hard work, he kind of got what was coming to him when Elsa allegedly intentionally gave him.
No,
the
she
wrong
did
grail.
it. She did it on purpose.
Absolutely did it on purpose. It's never said, but I think it's easy to guess that she absolutely gave him the wrong grail on purpose. And I think there is a connection between how she did most of the work, but he essentially wanted to take all the glory.
I think. Well, and we need to count Elsa in this list.
Maybe it's I think maybe Donovan is kind of an interesting. It's not an exact foil by any regard, but it's if Indy was more set on worldly things, of wanting to get fame and glory.
Well, that was Belloc.
You could argue.
True. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about in our Dial of Destiny episode about how Helena Shaw is basically a poor recreation of Temple of Doom Indy. You could argue that Belloc and Donovan were also. You could compare those two to Indy in his Temple of Doom days.
They're both foils, right?
Yeah,
so they want the money, they want the fortune and glory.
Except Indy actually learned his lesson, whereas they never got to because they either aged too quickly or their heads exploded.
They aged too quickly. You just got old, man. Just,
Yeah. John, you can relate, right?
I don't think we'll see his eyes rolling back into it. Okay. Wow.
Oh, we didn't use it in the last
we've
one.
been missing that for a while here.
You're welcome.
Another.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you
There
that.
we
That
go.
was
There we go.
perfect.
I think at the end of the day, it's hard to pick a standout villain. I will say that Mola Ram is terrifying kind of in his own special way.
Yeah.
And so he really stands out to me. Spalko, I think comes off to me as weird, like weird. Like I don't want to go like within 100 feet of that weird, like
Who is that?
Falco.
Skull.
The Russian villain from
yeah.
Crystal Skull.
Yeah, she's weird.
Yeah, just like red flag weird vibes. And I think Indy got that too. It's just like, you're strange.
If we're talking about best villain, Seth, you're going to think this is a bit of a hot take, maybe.
Okay, go for it.
I think Jürgen Voller was probably the best villain in the whole franchise.
I feel like he was more flushed out than some of the other ones.
Yeah, let me show my work here. He had, like John said, he is probably the best fleshed out. His motivations are incredibly clear. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that the best villains are the ones that believe themselves to be the hero. And Voller believes basically that. He's like, I want to kill Hitler because I can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
And in his arrogance, he miscalculates where the time fissure is going to take them. And that is ultimately what leads to his downfall.
That's a good case. That is a way in which he stands out because he is very much like an ordinary dude.
He's also Mads Mikkelsen and like
he's Mads Mikkelsen.
It's Mads Mikkelsen.
But like his character is at heart an ordinary dude, right? He's not even particularly you don't get the sense that he's a super hardcore Nazi either. Right? Like
even in the prologue of Dial of Destiny, he was literally shoved to the sidelines more than once, which I think only adds to his arc in wanting to, like, I think in some ways he's just like, I need to prove to all these suckers that I know what is best for the Nazi party and I know how to win the war. So I think Jürgen Voller is the best villain in the franchise.
I accept that.
Awesome.
I accept that. I think that's really good. I think he's certainly the best villain character. In terms of like grandiosity, actually, he does kind of have a grandiose idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works. It works. I like it. I think he's much more believable as a character than a lot of the others, where it's like Donovan's like, wait, Donovan just wanted the Holy Grail? Like, he should have known that that's going to backfire on you, right? You should have known in some way. But, yeah. Voller I like that.
So
good arguments all around.
You kind of forgot what you were saying before, though. Isn't Shaw the rest of
I think she's unintentionally villainous. Well, obviously, she's in direct opposition to Indy, and part of the movie is her coming around to having a heart a little bit. Yeah. And
well, that's not.
I actually.
Actually, that says a lot considering how she's just not a character to root for.
Do you find it kind of funny that like none of us have called her Wombat though? Just because that's too endearing for a character.
Yeah, that was very clearly like they're trying to endear her to the
like
audience.
It didn't work. Sorry, Lucasfilm, you failed on that part.
Like I don't quite understand like what I mean other than that like.
You know why do you know why that relationship didn't make sense? Because Basil Shaw literally was not thought of until this movie. Yeah. Now if the side character would here's I'm gonna pitch an possible alternate reality in which the Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny was a better movie. It's
a nice place.
if the Helena Shaw character were actually one of Sala's kids and she was one of their godparents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That character you actually probably would root for.
Yes.
Because it's Sala, and Sala wouldn't even be dead.
Mm-hmm.
But it would just and then also even factor short round into the story, you already have an infinitely better movie than what we got.
Yeah.
As fun as I thought Dial of Destiny was, if we had one of Sala's kids being Indy's godchildren who was actually one to root for instead of being like, I just want to make money. And then you factor short round into like if it's like here's my pitch. Here's my pitch for what that plot like have the quest like be largely the same, except Short Round is in danger. Right? Even though he's an adult, Short Round is in danger, and Indy and one of Salah's kids have to go and rescue him, and somehow that leads to the Antikythera.
Interesting.
Do you know how much that would have been a better movie? Because I think it also would have effectively tied the franchise way better together than how it did.
Than just random like tie-ins.
You know, I always have to remind myself that God allows suffering for a reason. And I know he's going to work something beautiful out of this.
I just, okay. The thing that I kind of wonder is like,
I love you, man.
Okay.
Quote of the day.
So coming from like a kind of more like art career, you would say, of like, I designed something and then like things have to be edited for budget and then things change. I just wonder like, what kind of like how much intervention there is by like studios and like all this other things
now
because like the thing is like
I think back in the day studio interference was almost non-existent. I think now it is more present than ever
because like the thing is like we could come up with these like great stories, right, of just like including all these people and like this would be like great way to end the franchise, like bring it all together and like people would just love it. But it's like I wonder how much like because they maybe the director had like a similar idea and like just all these other things were like, no, you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's just like, and it's just made it so that it can't be what it could have like be.
I'm actually really happy you brought that up. Do you guys want to hear a fun fact about Crystal Skull?
Sure.
So I learned on a podcast I was listening to recently that Spielberg and I can't remember who the other, it was a famous writer. I can't remember who it was. But Spielberg co-wrote Crystal Skull with someone else, and there wasn't even aliens involved.
Wow.
And the only reason there are aliens in the movie is because George Lucas insisted that there be aliens in the movie.
What?
You know, look,
actually, you know what? I'm going to look this up and see who the other writer was, because I remember it was like someone significant.
Well, we have to give credit where credit is due. George Lucas did some amazing stuff, but he was not known for being the best story artist.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me. And that's why I think Lucas is phenomenal when you surround him with good people. I think when
we'll call it his BS basically.
Yeah. When he's kind of left to just run the show by himself, like when the prequels happen, you get some really strange choices. I'm not going to say the prequels are outright bad. I think they had a fantastic
What do you think the prequels
concept,
would have looked like if Ron Howard would have done the prequels?
Oh, it's a good question.
Because I've heard that what if possibility thrown around, and I'm actually not too mad at the idea.
I actually feel like the prequels, the way they are in terms of kind of being political thrillers, in a sense, I think they would have worked super well for Denis Villeneuve if he was around at the time and like in his career, because the way that he does like Dune, like the way that I've seen him work with Dune, I think would have been like a fantastic aesthetic and an idea for the prequels in terms of how he handles the introduction of the savior character. And obviously with Dune, he's working from some source material, but I think it all would have worked fantastic if we could have just waited like 30 years and then gotten the prequels, you know?
And not have the sequel trilogy.
Yes.
I find it interesting because like I think for the Crystal Skull where it's like I had some questions, right? Or we didn't really. Anyway, one of the things that like I think I do give them like slight credit for with Crystal Skull is because this was before Lucasfilm was bought by Disney.
Yes,
so
by the way, Disney did not back Crystal Skull.
So
I want to make that clear.
That's the thing where I almost wonder if like Lucasfilm was trying to like use some of its like intellectual property to like get some revenue in, and I feel like that was more forced than like they probably didn't want to go back to the character, but they kind of had to.
Yeah, and that's actually not a bad point, especially if you consider the fact that when Revenge of the Sith came out, which was 2005, would have been the point at which they would have seen what they needed to do next. And so, and this is pure speculation, but they see Revenge of the Sith, they see the performance of it in the box office, they kind of see how the whole prequel trilogy played out, and they're like, we need to figure out what else to do here. And so they go back to Indiana Jones. Because I know they had a concept for Crystal Skull for a long, long time. It took like, what, 25 years to get that movie made?
Something like that.
But I imagine like after Revenge of the Sith is when they actually thought they needed to do it, you know?
It was a little less than 20 years, actually,
Okay.
between Last Crusade and Crystal Skull.
Yeah, because wasn't that like 89?
It's 89 to 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
So are there any other thoughts before we move into scores and rankings?
I want to reiterate, this was a fun movie series
This
to
was.
revisit.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
was.
I actually kind of want to watch these, at least the original movies. I actually really want to watch them again.
But like in
I
the,
love
the
them so-
chronological order this time with like Temple.
I
and
should
then
try
Raiders
that,
and-
watching them chronologically.
That's a thought.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad thought at all.
I've talked to several friends about Indiana Jones, and they're just like, they're either like, I haven't seen them in a long time, or I've never seen them. I'm just like, oh, that needs to change.
I mean, same thing with Star Wars, right?
Yes.
I mean, I honestly, if nobody's ever seen it
Star
before,
Wars, though, I think is more iconic.
Mhm.
Whereas
True,
Indiana
true.
Jones is so niche.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of those niche things that, but yeah, it's niche, but yet it's so like ingrained in American pop culture
Mhm.
that it's like, as far as like, you must watch the original trilogy, Indiana Jones matches Star Wars in that respect.
I agree. Yeah.
So
Let's get into our scores here.
yeah, so
It's
looking
been a
at-
wild ride.
Yeah,
Well,
so
one question: if you were
Yeah.
going to show, if nobody had seen any Indiana Jones and you had to show them one movie,
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade.
okay, that's what I.
What kind of a question is that,
the,
John?
The only thing is, if they watch Last Crusade the first time, right, then everything else will be worse.
I think they need to see Raiders and then they need to see Last Crusade.
Okay.
I think if you were
Okay.
to if I were to show them that, because like Last Crusade you need a little bit of context for, and I think Raiders gives you that context. I think if you try to do Temple of Doom, it would work as a first movie, but it's
you would just scare people away.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
just so tonally different.
Yeah, 'cause they'll think it would be like a horror movie almost.
I don't
Yeah.
think
You're just
Temple
like,
of Doom is as tonally different as Crystal Skull or Dial of Destiny.
I don't think Crystal Skull. No, Crystal Skull is not tonally different from Raiders and Last Crusade. I think it's very similar.
I would agree. I think Temple is more
To-
than Crystal Skull.
In some, wait, you agree with me or Seth, John?
No, I agree with Seth. I
Okay.
think Crystal Skull is close. Well, I mean, up till the end, then it like changes completely. But
Well, that's like halfway through the movie.
okay, okay. I'll say I think Dial of Destiny is the closest in line with the other two, with Last Crusade and Raiders versus
I do-
Temple and.
I still think
Skull.
Temple is closer, but I agree that Dial of Destiny tonally is very close in many
But
respects.
Seth doesn't like anything about Dial, so
I mean, I do like things about Dial.
He doesn't like the movie overall.
Yeah.
but-
Anyway, so talking about how we stacked this up. So we'll kind of go from our fifth place to first place rankings. We actually have a bit of an interesting situation here, and we'll get there soon. But as far as last place, John and I both agreed that Crystal Skull was our least favorite.
Mhm.
Seth agreed with the overall Genesius score with Dial of Destiny.
Didn't this happen with Avengers too? Didn't I nail the
You nailed the
phase one?
You nailed the rankings for phase
I
one.
gotta check it.
Not quite with this one though, because this is where it gets interesting, because John and I'm gonna kind of lump third and fourth place together here, because John and I agreed on Temple of Doom and Dial of Destiny, where Temple of Doom was higher than Dial of Destiny.
Mhm.
The Genesius score has Temple of Doom above Crystal Skull. Seth, however, is where it gets interesting because he gave Temple of Doom and Crystal Skull the same score. And so they are effectively, so on my table here, I just merged those two cells and put them both in there. So Seth, the question is, which one ranks higher for you? Temple of Doom or Crystal Skull?
This is where you can actually go into decimals.
You know what? I will accept that for once.
Okay. This changes things.
I think, yeah, I never even thought about that. But since we have come to this point, yeah, Seth, I grant you permission to use decimals.
He has given me the sacred keys to the decimal system.
Right. You don't think you get to use them willy-nilly.
Okay.
I'm not giving you the keys. You are borrowing them this one time.
You have given me a great responsibility, my good friend.
I mean, with great power comes great responsibility.
Indeed. As we all know, that's the catchphrase from old Uncle Ben. Let's see. So what were my scores here?
75.
75
For
for
both.
both of them. Oh, wow. This is a toughie.
This is extremely entertaining for me.
Is that like a solid C?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Temple of Doom is technically the better film, I think. I maybe I feel like Crystal Skull is more in this action adventure spirit from Raiders and Last Crusade. I think it matches more tonally. And so in some ways, I almost feel like it's a better Indiana Jones movie. But I also know Temple of Doom it got Short Round.
Yeah.
And Short Round is just the GOAT.
This will be a phrase we will probably be using in every episode.
Probably.
We're always going to allude back to Short Round being the GOAT.
It actually, the best part is it could be a completely unrelated movie where we're just like, room.
No, just wait till we talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once, where Short Round's actually in it, and we're still going to say he's the GOAT.
Short Round is the GOAT. Well, it could be completely unrelated where we're like, this community movie is just like so crazy.
But Short Round's
the GOAT.
Yeah.
If it says anything, I do think he is a highlight of that movie.
If not the highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is actually really tough for me. Because there are parts of Temple of Doom that are just so annoying. So deeply annoying. Willie Scott, the bugs, just the grossness of all of it.
That was something they did a callback to in Dial as well.
That was a brilliant callback, actually.
Yeah, it was actually.
Isn't that the only point in which Shaw screams?
Yeah,
in the bugs,
and it was a better scream.
Yeah,
it was a better scream.
She's still the worst side character,
but anyway.
And a good villain. I'm gonna do something that's very rare for me because I know that you like to rank movies kind of how you feel about, like very much feel about them. And
I mean, also like quality over quantity.
Yeah. So I would say like my ranking style is very technical.
Like, I mean, I enjoyed Crystal Skull more than Dial of Destiny, but I flip them around because I think Dial of Destiny was the better movie.
That's fair. John, I know you for a fact that you rank based on enjoyment. Very much so.
I think it's a mixture, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like John and I rank movies very similar.
Nick's just a little more extreme than I am.
Yeah. As you
doing 100 on stuff.
Well,
as you both know really well.
Yeah.
I like to rank stuff based like as objectively as possible.
That's what the Genesius ranking is for. That's why your ranking is like pretty much nails the overall Genesius score.
Yeah, man. No, but I'm going to do something a little different in this case. I enjoy Crystal Skull more.
Oh.
I'm not surprised.
And so to me, it sits above Temple of Doom because of that. So I'm going to put it as my number 3.
Okay.
And Temple of Doom as my number 4. He just messed with the Excel sheet. It's okay. It's okay.
It's
It's a table inside.
So what is the official scores then, so that they fit that ranking?
75 and 2/3 for Crystal Skull, and 75 and 1/3 for no. Hold on. Yeah. 75 and 2/3 for Crystal Skull, and 75 and 1/3 for
He doesn't even want to do
Temple
an
of Doom.
easy decimal. Like you could do a quarter.
He
and
gave me the
3/4.
keys. I'm gonna make the most of it, buddy. I'm not gonna skimp on this.
Yep, give them back. You've made your use of them.
Shoot. Just don't drive my car.
Hang on. Now to see, does this affect?
Oh, it's gonna screw with it
Let's
so
see.
much.
Let's see if it screws with the score.
Well, technically no, because they should add together.
They
And
should, but
come to a whole
I'm
number.
still
It's
really,
probably going to be like very minor.
I know. I'm doing this out of curiosity. Oh shoot, I did that wrong.
Yes, you did.
Oops.
I wish I had
Stall.
the Jeopardy music on my thing here. Where's the what sound bites haven't we used?
You
Okay.
can do the
Temple
crickets.
Temple of Doom was unaffected.
Okay. He's going through them. Yeah, we just need to hit the crickets, I think.
And Crystal Skull was also unaffected.
Okay,
So
good deal.
nothing
Good deal.
changed. That's good.
But this leads us to what is our Genesius score for the whole thing?
Well, hang on. We didn't get to number 2 and number
Oh,
1
oh,
yet,
right,
which
yeah.
isn't going to take long because I mean that's pretty unanimous. Number 2 is Raiders. Number 1 was, as listeners you've probably gathered,
The
Last Crusade.
Yeah.
It's
Like
a
I don't
no-brainer.
think there's no competition that Last Crusade is just one of the greatest movies ever
It's-
made.
It's not a perfect film, but it is a perfect action adventure
Yes.
film.
Yeah.
I think.
It's like I said, it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Mhm.
This Last Crusade is the short round of the Indiana Jones franchise. It's the GOAT.
It is the GOAT.
But yeah,
Agreed.
so our overall Genesius score. So my score for the overall Indiana Jones franchise was an 87.
Yep. Average score 87.
Seth's score, oh man, I gotta recalculate this too. Dang it. This is what happens when I give you the keys.
Yep.
I mean, I don't regret it really because
Yes, he does.
to a degree.
We'll do the chimes this time.
Ooh.
It
Have we ever
fits-
used that?
No, I don't think we have.
Oh, it still didn't change anything.
Okay, good.
So Seth's score comes out to a 79. John comes out an 83, which matches the overall Genesius score.
Yeah, John did a good job there.
Gold
I
star,
feel like
John.
I tend to be the average between you two.
That's a fair assessment, honestly.
Well, yeah, if he's on
actually, if you look at this, 83 is exactly between 87 and 79. So
yeah, plus four,
that would-
plus four.
so
Yeah,
I
that's true.
think that only proves your point.
Yeah, you're right. Wow,
Anyway.
But yeah,
it's been-
83.
this has been a fun one.
I love this series so much.
Yeah,
I
This
do.
has been a fun one. And I want to thank you guys for really being along for the ride on this one. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Genesius podcast.
That was a really smooth transition.
Thank you. If you enjoy our content and you want to see or hear more from us, please subscribe to our podcast on whatever podcasting platform you use. You can find us on Anchor, also known as Spotify for podcasts now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts. We also have YouTube videos, a YouTube channel. Our handle is at Genesius Podcast, where you can see the shenanigans we get up to. As
Subscribe.
Well. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Where you can see all the shenanigans we get up to, as well as some pretty cool Lego sets.
Yeah. And if you would like us to talk about a movie you enjoy or a movie related topic you'd like us to discuss here on the podcast, I should actually include franchise on this too, since I mean we already know what our next franchise is going to be, or I should say what we're going to continue doing. But
Yes.
but if you have one that you want us to talk about here on the podcast, if you want to provide feedback to make our show better, or if you just want us to pray for you in any way, please send us an email at genesiuspodcast@gmail.com. That's GENESIUS podcast@gmail.com. Additionally, if you want to come on the show, as Lumiere would say, be our guest, make sure you know one of us three personally, and make sure you have listened to an episode of this show. And if that's the case, either reach out to one of us three directly or shoot us an email at genesiuspodcast@gmail.com.
Finally, please spread the word about the Genesius podcast, whether it be on social media or word of mouth. If you're listening, turn to whoever you're in proximity to.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Seth.
Have you heard about this little thing called the Genesius podcast?
What's a whole thing?
It's a whole thing is a thing that is like one big piece. The podcast is about three Catholic dudes.
No. I know what the Genesius podcast is. I just
Oh.
don't understand the concept of a whole thing.
Oh,
It's like when you put multiple parts together.
Ah,
but like you
It's a
have
whole-
all the parts,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So like this Indiana Jones minifigure, this is the whole thing. But like you can take his hat off. You can take. Oh, there's another face. Okay, I'm gonna put that back on.
That was
That's
beautiful.
kind of
That scared the crap out of me. Wow.
Their face behind the
Well, because you're supposed to like twist it around, and there's like another headpiece I think that goes with it.
It's when he runs into the spider webs when he's escaping
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
the
How
temple.
does
Oh, that was
even-
that was a fun surprise.
Yeah. What is this even? I don't like that. I'm gonna flip that back around to the smirk because I like the smirk. There we go.
Anyway, okay.
Anyway, so
or
the-
you could shoot a text to all your friends, family, and coworkers about our podcast, whether it be at this right at this moment, at a family dinner, at a work meeting, or on date night.
Like an engagement party.
Ooh,
Or a
or
wedding.
engagement party. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I've heard engagement parties are a really good place to plug a podcast.
Did we talk at all? Did we talk at all about the podcast yesterday? I think.
No,
Oh,
I don't think so.
no, I don't think so.
But
Well, it'll come up at, if not both of yours, one of your weddings. It's gonna come up.
it's just like there's a sponsorship. At like the
this
bottom
is what's
of
gonna
the
happen. This is
invite.
what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna ask me, Nick, how do you know John or Seth? I'm gonna be like, have you ever heard of the Genesius podcast?
Yeah, there we go. That's it.
They're just gonna be like, no, what's that? And I'll play. I'm like, oh, we're three Catholic dudes to talk about movies. Oh, that's cool. So how do you know that? I'm just like, because they're on it with me.
Really, we'll have you there for marketing. That's really.
Wow.
He just
wow.
like he has
I see. That's the one purpose I'm gonna be
So,
serving.
You get free
so
food.
we need to make like a Genesius podcast tie that he just wears.
Wait,
That
could
would
we
be
do
dope.
that?
That would be dope.
That would
Actually,
be so good. Oh, that'd be amazing.
just have like one of the film strips on the logo.
Yep.
Be my tie.
Yep. You should just
That's,
do a
a,
film.
that's actually
film strip tie.
that's actually a really sick idea.
Yeah.
No, and
yeah.
then you have like the different platforms that we're on as your socks.
You can find us on Lips Pant Leg.
I
Just
will
like
be
YouTube and Spotify.
man, but yeah, I mean, I think at you guys' weddings, I think it's inevitable that this podcast is going to come up.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
it will.
Both of our, I can just feel both of our fiancés shaking their heads right now. Just like, please.
I can see Rochelle doing that. I think Katie would be all in. Especially considering she was on the show. She can be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it was so much fun.
Yep.
There's also a possibility that they might be coming on in the future.
That's,
Anyway.
Wait, what?
oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a
What?
secret project.
Secret project.
Secret project.
Anyway.
Okay.
Wherever
Should
you
I be
are-
worried?
No. I think you'd find it great when we
Yeah,
tell you what it
yeah,
is, but
yeah.
we can't tell you right now.
Yeah. So look forward to that.
Do I have
Anyway.
Do I have to wait long?
I'm not sure.
Great.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please tell them about us and please pray for us as we continue to create content to give or to use our gifts to give glory to God.
Do you have any prayer intentions for today?
Pray for those that are desperate for power, that want power.
Welcome to modern day politics.
Yeah. Pray for those that want to exercise dominion over men.
I think also pray for the appreciation for our history and reflecting on the past.
I can lead us in prayer.
Yeah.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Father, we thank you for bringing us together today as we have enjoyed our fellowship with one another, our fraternity with one another, and as we give glory to you through our fellowship and our discussion. We lift up in prayer today those who desire earthly power, that you may seek and guide their hearts and their souls towards the true model of power and manliness and in your Son, Jesus Christ. We also pray that we may not forget our history, that we may respect it, that we may bring honor to it, that we may bring healing to past hurts, and that we may continue the good work of those that have started it in our past. We bring all these intentions together and we lift them up to you as we pray. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Saint Genesius,
Pray for us, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks for praying for us, Seth.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah. Thank you, Seth and John, for being here with me today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In this studio with a Lego collection that is subtly growing smaller.
Slightly.
Yeah, slightly.
The big
Feels
boys
like
are
it's just
still
as
here.
big, but
Yeah, the big boys are still here, and I like that.
Oh, the big boys are here to stay for at least a while.
That makes me happy. I love seeing the Tana-4 there.
Fun fact, it's actually pronounced Tantav4.
Tantaviv.
Tantav.
Oh,
Yeah. Seriously, like canonically, that's how you say it.
weird.
I know. I thought that was weird too, but I was like, that fits. It's Star Wars.
I really want to hit that music button.
Well, don't worry. You'll get to in just a second because I want to thank the listeners out there for tuning in with us today. We will be back next Friday at noon and we will be soon continuing our journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Oh, yeah.
with Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gonna be back, boys.
But that will
Definitely
not...
gonna look forward to Guardians though.
Yep.
Oh, that's
Guardians
oh
of
my
Winter
gosh,
Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But considering Iron Man 3 won't be for another 2 weeks, all I have left to say is we are the Genesius guys. I'm Nick.
Filling in for Kyle, I am Seth.
I am John.
And this is the Genesius podcast. God bless everyone.